What's going on, guys? Cheddar here with another video, and we're reacting to a band called Vended. Now, there are a number of people who probably don't know who these are, but there are some who will. They are a new band that was... It says here, I've got their bios up, so it's better to go through that and talk about them. Established in February of 2018, and you'll recognize some of these names. Consist of Cole Espeland, said that right, Griffin Taylor, Simon Crayon, Jeremiah Pugh, and Connor Grodziski. Yeah, these are the sons of Clown and Corey from Slipknot. So you've got Simon on the drums and you've got Griffin on the vocals. I've heard one of their songs before, and today's no music video. It's just a new song that they dropped today, called Ded To Me. Oh no, it was on the 15th of July. Get the days wrong. So they're playing at Bloodstock, and I know I keep banging on about Bloodstock coming up, and they are opening up the main stage on the Sunday. And this is going to be a really, I think this is just going to be trial by fire for them. Because as much as, there's been loads of videos of Griffin out on tour with Corey and singing with Stone Sour and all that. And they've played, it says here they played a little bit with, at Knotfest in 2020. And they played a few shows. They've sold out some local shows and stuff like that. So I'm keen to see what's going to happen with them. I remember the music I heard was quite good. And I'm really keen to see what they can do. Obviously, there's going to be... I expect there probably to be a lot of Slipknot influences in there, but I hope they blaze their own path. Because at the moment, the one thing that they have the luxury of is being the sons of greats. But the thing is, we don't want that to hold them down or bring them up too quickly. Bringing them through decent tours and letting them put the work in, which I'm sure they have, will definitely show how much they can actually, what potential they can have and the real life that they can bring to it. And hopefully their music as well is, from what I've heard, it's very raw and I like it. I liked what I heard. Can't remember the name of the song I heard, but seeing them live is going to be a real test. And I think that they're going to do really well as long as they can keep their heads straight and focus on the business. Which, as bands do. Some of them get a bit led astray by the rock and roll lifestyle. And now it's a lot more professional. It's not the 80s anymore where parties are throwing TVs out of hotel windows and trashing backstage. Places and labels just won't hire you or book you. So there is zero point of doing it. You've got to be a lot more professional. So without any further ado, we'll get into it and see what they have to offer. Okay, did I just hear Eyeless? That literally just sounded like the Eyeless guitar. Oh. That's dirty, though. The rawness of it.
Can I get some fucking percent quiet? If I can get away from all of the noise. There's a fire in my head, burning chosen. Let's say this is my way of going the...
Before I get that into the kicks in, that voice, that raw young Corey kind of voice, you can hear twinges of it. It definitely, if you didn't know it was Corey's son, you wouldn't be like, oh, that's definitely Corey's son. It's got that raw... If you've ever listened to Mate Feed, Kill, Repeat, if you've ever listened to the original Slipknot album, there's just a rawness to it. But then, he's definitely been trained, which is good because the last thing you want to hear is someone blowing out their vocal cords. Because I remember when Slipknot were doing Iowa, and I was like, why is his voice changed after that? And then learning after, that was because he was told you have to change it because you're not singing correctly and you're going to blow out your voice. So it was a really kind of interesting dynamic on how he went from that subliminal verses to what he does now, and it's a lot more trained, it's a lot more concise, and this is something that I want them to keep the rawness. I love the rawness. All right, let's get into the song properly, not just the intro.
This is my way of going
All right. That's a headbanger. That is an absolute headbanger. That's get your windmills going. Just showing how I was kind of expecting it to be like young and aggressive and we're just gonna tear the place down, but that sludginess to it, I love it. Really, really love it. I kind of have to like bang on again about the guitars, like the sort of ringing they're doing there. Like I love that. Like there was one thing that like really attracted me to the original Slipknot and Korn is that they were just like, we're gonna just come up with obscure kind of sounds that just could sound like a mess, but it's so well, like it's well organized, of course, and it just, I think it brings another level to like just feeling a bit more raw. Like 2090s metal was a lot more dirtier in that sense. Now it's like, I don't think people there's a lot of conventional stuff out there. So this is going to really hit a few good notes. Oh, there we go. That took nearly a minute to get to that. And that's really cool. Like a really smart intro. And then they're like, right, now we're going. Get your jogging shoes on. That's just so, like, nostalgic. I know, like, I don't want to sit here and really go, like I said, like, pave their own path and so on, about, like, not being just in the shadow of their parents and so on, but that's just so, like, 90s Corey, and it's just, it brings that whole, like, because Slipknot were really the first metal band I ever got into. A friend of mine introduced me to them, and I was just completely oblivious to metal. And it was the first album, and I just kind of was enamored by it, listening to a tape deck, just going, what even is this? And just, I like, that, like, vocal kind of attack there, just, it really just reminded me so much of that, and it's brought such a huge smile to my face. Well, there he goes. I love the fact that he keeps dropping back into that. Dun, 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 dun. I love that. Like, you got a nice little, like, heavy pit going part, and then you've got like they keep going back to that, and it just doesn't sound like, to me, the whole writing process just sounds outside the box of just a lot of metal bands that you hear. I always found, like, if you when I talk about metal bands like that, I think of like Trivium, Bullet, and a lot of well-seasoned and good bands. But the one thing that attracted me to a lot of, like, if you go like Korn and Slipknot are the ones I have to compare to. There wasn't a conventional structure to all their songs, you know, like intro, verse, pre-chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, you know, and then breakdown. Like, there are so many songs that they just did. We're just kind of going with like a raw vibe that doesn't necessarily always have as much of a structure of, in a traditional sense, following that pattern. And this kind of has that, where it reminds me of that raw time where you got a lot of stuff like that. And I think the way these guys, like, you know, the guitars sound great, the drums sound great. They've definitely, it makes, I've got a point, but I'll talk about it at the end. That's a nice scream. And there was me sitting for this, like, maybe a last breakdown, but that was quite a cool, like, outro to the song. Just, that actually was kind of just resonating those guitars that I was just talking about, and how it just sounds so, like, it's got that eerie, sadistic kind of feel to it. Just some kind of Freddy Krueger stuff. But there's a point I wanted to sort of knock onto, of just these kids are getting together and writing such awesome music, and whether they're doing it on their own or they're having input from their families or the, you know, people they know, this is the kind of stuff that, like, for a first album that they're, or first lot of songs they're getting out, this is really good stuff. And I think it's the kind of direction I'd like to see a lot of these kind of metal bands, like Resurgence. There's been a lot of, like, kind of new metalish stuff that's kind of made an appearance in the last few years, and this isn't really new metal. Like, Slipknot kind of got labeled with that category to a certain degree, but they never really, they were in parts, and they were just, it's really hard to kind of, I felt like it was a hard category to be in, especially when there was a lot of, there was a lot going on. And weirdly enough, there was a lot of artists that hate that term or being put in that category. But actually, that was my that was my teenage years. And that's what I'm the most fond of. So hearing stuff like this, it makes me think, what are we going to hear from them in 10 years? When they're maturing, a bit older, they get seasoned. What kind of, like, how good is it going to be? And I think it's just going to get better and better from here on out. And if they keep on with this direction and they stay professional, this could be, like, they're going to be climbing the ranks of the stages very, very soon. And I'm glad that they're opening Bloodstock. It's a smaller festival. It's like 22,000. They are first band on the day, the last day, Sunday. And it really is, like, getting outside of the US and start touring and doing the odd show. I know they've got a couple of shows in England. I think it's Bournemouth at the Anvil and Blackheart in London. Roundabout Bloodstock time, so in about a month. and then they're going over to Europe, and this is going to be the real exposure for them that's going to help them get to the next level. And just over the years, I'd like to see them do sort of what, again, like what Slimler did. They really started at the bottom and slowly worked their way up. They weren't just given a headline slot like that, and they worked for it. Like, their first headline slot in the UK at festival was Download Festival 2009. So that was like 10 years after the first album. They have got a lot of work to go to that, but this is a perfect start to kick down a few doors. So let me know what you think. I think this is brilliant, and I can't wait to see them at Bloodstock, and I'll hopefully get some footage so I can upload for you guys so you can get an idea of how they are. Any comments or suggestions for songs, and subscribe to the channel, like the video, as you do. Share with your family, show it to your dog, whatever. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.